Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cut to the Chase Bengals Blitz, where, we're not too happy right now, but we're here. I'm your host, Chase Younts. To my right, I got my good friend from Running Through the Jungle, Justin Lacey. What's going on, Justin?
Man, I'm doing good, man. Thanks so much for having me. How you doing today?
Man, I'm doing pretty good. Just, living life and, making time for this show so we can, get on this thing and cook a little bit. You feel me?
Yes,
Got
sir.
gotta love it, gotta love it. But man, if you're watching us, listening to us anyway, so make this a favorite on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you're gonna be watching this video, make sure you like and subscribe to the page, and especially Running Through the Jungle. They got a lot of good stuff going on over there, also on YouTube and in the podcast realm, Spotify, Apple, wherever you find your podcast. There's so many damn places you can find your podcast. So, go on ahead. You can find us really on anywhere. Excited, but also not excited to talk about what's coming up here. The Bengals play the Cardinals week 5 on October the 8th, 4:05 p.m. on Fox. We'll talk about that matchup in a little bit. But Justin, you want to share some notes with us because you were telling me a little bit behind stage, that you had some notes from the Rams game and then some notes from the Titans game and how drastically different they were. I'm interested to hear this.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, for those that are also listeners of the Run Through the Jungle podcast, so we hopped on a show and talked about the game leading up to the Monday night game. And it was basically about our 0-2 start. And while, yes, it's a little bit concerning and it's different from last year's start, but don't really sell your Bengal stock just as yet. And so I got some notes here that I had really kind of gave some advice to the fans and tried to include myself in this. And I basically said, look, don't sell your stock just yet, but remove all expectations from getting the number one seed. That's the number one thing that this team was hampered by, probably, was high expectations. So I said, just remove them, get rid of them. The fear of long-term injury. We understand that Joe Burrow, we didn't know really what to make of his calf after 2 weeks. We thinking that, okay, is it going to get better? He's not practicing, but is he going to practice? But we thinking that this Rams game was going to be a get-right game. Again, this is before the game was played. So I basically just said that just adjust your mindset away from the expectations, but they're still probably a little close to figuring it out. That was my notes before the Monday night game against the Rams. Then the Monday night game happened. And then I was like, I'm still not too impressed for what I'm seeing. I'm glad we got the win, but I'm not as impressed of what we're seeing. So then, as what you mentioned,
Oh boy.
I'm looking at my notes this day, and I'm just not impressed with what I'm seeing from this team. And they are drastically different from the advice that I gave the fan base literally 2 weeks ago after sitting at 0-2. This 1-3 record, man, it just feels like we're done. I hate saying that, and I hate sticking the fork in us in the season, but I just don't feel like that there is true, genuine upside to this season now, because we just feel like that Joe Burrow's injury is really plaguing into his play, and it just doesn't feel like that the coaching staffs are doing anything to adjust it to make sure that he is playing better while dealing with this comfort. Yes, they're feeding us the coach speak talk, the locker room talk, like it's going to get better. We just got to let it play out. He'll naturally on his own and stuff. But I tend to not buy into none of that. There are quarterbacks that's dealing with so much more, if you ask me personally. I just watched Geno Smith hop back out in the game after suffering a knee injury during the last Monday night's game against the Giants. And again, their defense had a crazy day too. But Geno
Yeah.
Smith was still cooking in that game. They still ran the ball decently okay in that game, and Geno Smith made pretty good throws in that game. So it's not impossible to still play good football. Geno Smith also had the help of Shea Waldron, their offensive coordinator, dialing up creative run plays and quick passing plays, because they also didn't have a really good offensive line in that game too. But then I look back at this Bengals team against this particular Titans team that I came on the Running Through the Jungle show and sort of disrespected. And I got to be honest, I disrespected the Titans. And I do apologize for that. But at the end of the day, I still didn't think highly of the Titans, and you let that team roll over you. 27 points, and you barely didn't even after that first drive, you just basically felt like you quit the whole entire game. And on top of that, even during garbage time, when the game was already over, you still couldn't execute. So I'm just like, it's so night and day when I look back at my notes comparing from 2 weeks ago on until tonight. how vastly my views have changed of this team and of this season.
Yeah, and I think we'll keep it on this beat when we're talking about offensive struggles. And like you mentioned last night with Shane Waldron and the Seattle Seahawks, what they were doing to help out Geno Smith, who was hampered by a knee injury throughout the game. Obviously, the defense did go crazy. That's one thing that needs to happen for us to win a damn game is the defense need to go, not necessarily like the Monday night game every week, but if they play, up to that level with their hair on fire, then you got chances, and then you help your quarterback out. We'll talk about the defense in just a second because it ain't good over there. But offensively, I got a book right here. Actually, it's by Harry G. Frankfurt. I don't know if the camera's going to turn around. I don't know if it's going to, mirror this really well. But the book title is called "On Bullshit." That's exactly what the coaching staff is on right now. And you know what? That is on truth. We on truth with it. You feel me? Look, the scheme, I will hammer this down. Scheme. It is insane that we have not been able to just, try to change the scheme a little bit. You're 1-3. You're not going to win 14 or 13 games right now, not on Sunday. You got to change it up for the opponent. You got to scheme it to help your quarterback out. I was listening to Cincinnati Bengals talk. James Rapine, really good reporter for the Bengals. I personally like him. Did a 10-minute video earlier. Didn't talk much about X's and O's, but why don't have Joe Burrow playing the pistol more? Have Joe Mixon right behind him. It's basically like you're under center, but you're in the gun. You can do a lot of the same concepts. When it comes to running the football, power run game, trap schemes, all this X's and O's stuff that you can do out of the pistol formation. I don't understand on third down why we're running long developing routes when everyone in the world knows that they are going to send the house at our, immobile quarterback at this moment. Because if you told me, 2 months ago before that Burrow injury happened, or 2 or 3 months ago, it's been, feel like a while, but if you would have told me a couple months ago that, oh, yeah, week 3, week 4, they're going to send all-out blitzes at Joe Burrow, I told you he dimed them up. Obviously, the injury does not help, but it's just unbelievable that the scheme is not there. It just isn't, basic scheme of let's have everybody run a fade. Let's have everybody, run hitches that are short of the line of script. Just the whole thing is like, come on, man. I will give them credit. On Monday night against the Rams, they moved Jamar around, moved him in motion, blah, blah, blah. But, if you're going to move him around, you got to try to get him the damn ball. Right. You feel me? Like, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense what they're trying to accomplish and everything. And that's been a big thing. But obviously, other than Joe Burrow's calf injury, because trust me, talking about Joe Burrow's calf, it literally makes my calf ache talking about it. It makes my heart ache talking about it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, We're both down here in Cincinnati, man. We hear it all the freaking time. That's like the one thing everybody's talking about. Oh, the Bengals, Joe Burrow's calf. Like, okay. So what else is lacking in the offense, other than Joe Burrow? And we could literally save this another segment for Zach Taylor. We could talk about that in a minute. But what else is lacking in this offensive scheme?
I'm with you, Chase, man. The calf injury, I'm done hearing the excuses regarding it. He's just not playing good football regarding the calf injury or not. Again, I know he's trying to be a tough warrior, but I'm done hearing the excuses from the fan base, and I wish they keep bringing it up every other tweet that I get on social media. But yeah, you brought some things up in regards to the play calling. It's just so suspect right now, and it's so ashamed of how it is non-existent and non-creative when this coaching staff has now been together for 3 years now. Actually, longer, maybe a little bit longer than that. Brian Callahan,
5 years. Yeah,
5 years.
5 years.
Brian Callahan. Yeah. Brian Callahan, Dan Pitcher. Was Dan Pitcher there when Zach Taylor was hired?
I'm not sure if I think Dan Pitcher might have came on a year after or something like that, because I know Alex Van Pelt used to be the quarterback's coach for a second. I don't know.
That.
I don't know if it was under Marvin Lewis or not, but Dan Pitcher has been there for at least 3 years. We'll say that.
I think he was there when Zach Taylor was hired, because that was one of the coaches that he had brought on as a QB coach.
That's true.
Now that I think about it, because that was under Dalton's first year. I get it. Yes. I get it now. Yes. The only real change was Jim Turner, the O-line coach, and went from him to Frank Pollock, and that was the mass change that they made there. But you would think that a coaching staff, essentially the core coaching staff, that's been together for 5 seasons now, would do better than going 0 for 6 on third down in that Titans game. That first drive, I thought was going to be what the real Bengals were. They were very well balanced.
That was
It was
awesome.
so creative. That was incredibly creative. I was like, I haven't seen this.
The best drive of the year.
Let me ask you this question before
I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, you got you. Yeah.
Did you think that the Bengals did the wrong thing by going for a field goal on that first drive instead of a touchdown?
I personally didn't. I didn't think it was the wrong thing just because, like, I thought the defense stopped them, and they only got 3 that drive. And I was like, all right, you're evenly locked. It's, not a win. It's a wash. All right, offense, go out there and do the same thing again. And there you go. There you go. But yeah, you keep cooking, bro.
I asked you that question because I had a feeling in my body. It's like, it was really important for them to get 7 on that first drive, that opening drive series. Yeah. The Bengals won the toss in 8, and they elected to receive. The only time I feel like the Bengals do that if they are so uberly confident that they're going to score on that drive, and that's what they did.
That is facts.
And when they walked away from just cooking and just slicing up that Titans defense like it was nothing, and they only got 3 points out of it, I thought to myself, this might be something that tells me that they're not going to be as aggressive the rest of the game as I would like them to be. Yeah. So I didn't think nothing of it at the time. Yeah. But then, as you said, then they just moved away from everything that they did so well on, and then they never showed any sort of aggressiveness then. They let the Titans be the aggressor, and that's what was frustrating to me. And no wonder why they were 0 for 6 on third down throughout that game until I think they converted 1 in garbage time on the final drive, which at that point, nobody cared.
Who cares? Yeah.
So the play calling, the lack of creativity on the play calling, more specifically on third down, was very eye-opening and eye-popping throughout this whole entire season thus far. And we all thought it was, because everybody want to compare the week 1 game to this one. To me, this was a hell of a lot worse than week 1.
Yes.
I understand the rain was a factor in week 1. But this Titans team, I'm telling you right now, is just not that good to me. It's just not that good. And you let them run all over you, and you let them bully you. They didn't do anything special to me in that game either. I didn't think Derrick Henry, outside of the one run that he had basically people bouncing off of him for the tackle like he was vintage Derrick Henry at that point. I didn't think he was anything special in that entire game. And I know we're going to get to the defense here, but I feel like that what's missing on this offensive side of the ball is they need to look at themselves in the mirror and have a reality check. That the reality check is what they're missing. There's too much talent on this team, but they just operating like that. They just assume that it's going to just work itself out without actually understanding that there has to be some actual changes to make within, whether if it's scheme, whether if it's the pass blocking, whether if it's play call, whatever the case it may be. They're just operating with this mindset of, we'll eventually figure it out, and we're going to start cooking. And when we do cook, y'all better stay where you are. Man, dude, enough of that talk. All right, I understood that last year when we started off 0-2 and then 4-4. But, dude, you're 1-3 on danger of being 1-4 and potentially 1-5 after I saw Seattle on Monday night. Yeah. It's not looking good right now. So you got to figure it out on the offensive side of the ball. What's your identity going to flip to? Because right now, Joe Burrow is not healthy. He's not playing good football. And this offense has been so predicated on being head and shoulders above everybody else because they had one of those big dogs at quarterback. And right now, it's just not looking at that way now.
And the crazy thing is the offense, if you think about it and you look at it, if you scheme it the right way, if you call plays the right way and you go through a game the right way, it can change like that. It can change like that. It really can. Like we saw at that Titans game, the first drive, that was like, man, I don't even know how to describe it because, Joe Mixon was running for 5-6 yards a pop. They couldn't stop him up the middle. Joe Burrow was getting the ball quick out of his hands. Jamar Chase was making plays. C. Higgins was catching the football. You know what I'm saying? Like the thing that you cannot stop with the Cincinnati Bengals, and this stays, relevant for these last couple years, is when that team has urgency on offense. You cannot stop them. They're quick game, urgency, play with your hair on fire, man. You're not going to stop us. But they just don't do that. They just don't. Like you said, they wait too long to be like, they're like, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out eventually, blah, blah, blah. That whole attitude, like, once we figure it out, don't switch up on us and stuff like that. Like, that was cool 2 games in last year, but we're 4 games in this year. In the 4th game, y'all got y'all asses kicked. And it's like, we cannot do that. You're going out to the desert on Sunday. You better be playing hot. All right. You better be playing hot like that. And it's real frustrating. I look at some stats. Joe Burrow. I mean, every stat that Joe Burrow has had this season has been absolutely atrocious. 57% completion percentage, a 69 passer rating. Passer rating, the average is in the NFL, like if you're an average quarterback, average to above average quarterback is 90, and he's at 69.1. He actually has the lowest yards per attempt in NFL history since 1950. Yards per attempt, 4.8 yards per attempt when he throws the football. Obviously, he's not going to throw the football, deeper down the field because of the calf injury, but you can still, iterate some stuff that's, going to be good for quick game. He's going to be getting the ball to your playmakers. They can get yards at the catch. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. 728 yards. I think Zach Wilson has more passing yards than him, and this is wild. Joe Mixon, in 4 games, he is averaging 14.8 attempts a game. That ain't cutting it. 4.2 yards a carry. If you're going to tell me that Joe Mixon is going to average 4.5 yards a carry, that man should be getting the ball about 25 times a game. But you know how he's going to get the ball 25 times a game? You got to start off with the lead, and you got to maintain it, and you got to put the foot down and keep it on their necks. But we don't do that at all. And you know why the issue is with that? The damn defense, too. The defense is part of the problem as well. I got to cough here real quick because there's a lot of stuff I got to say. Man, you think about it, the defense on Monday night against the Rams, it was cooking. 6 sacks, 2 interceptions. I've never seen that defense play like that before since probably maybe 2015, 2013 Mike Zimmer defense. And, we love that defense. We love that team. Me and Justin were talking about this. That was probably one of the most underrated Bengals teams of all time. That we talked about this a couple months ago. Definitely, that 2013 team has special place in our hearts. But when you think about it, the type of game that you have to play when you have a hamper quarterback and you have a run game that's working when you use it and you can use it, you gotta be lights out on defense. You gotta play really good defense. You gotta be flying around the football, like someone stole your younger sister's lunch. All right. Like that type of stuff. I gotta get it back. I gotta get the ball back. I gotta get that thing back. But we don't do that. We don't play like that. We play like that when we want to. We play like that all the time. Like if you're playing for 60 minutes or 3.5 hour, football game and all that stuff, it's a lot. It's tiring. It's a grind. Don't get me wrong. Obviously we aren't the pros, but damn, like you're getting paid millions of dollars to do this. Tackle the ball carrier. Come on, man. Right. Like what's the big problem though? What is the big problem what's the glaring problem on defense? Because like I said, on Monday night, it was really good. But what is the glaring issue on that defense that you see, Justin Lacey?
For me, I think that they're just losing a little bit of that mental edge that they've had over the last couple of years. They've kind of gotten fat happy off of the success of the last 2 seasons, but they've now had to go through some personnel changes, and they're going through growing pains. I give them the least amount of blame out of all of the blame game they'll pass around. The defense for me gets the least because I understand what the personnel is looking like. Mm-hmm. Cheeto Uzier, he's not playing like Cheeto like I've known him to become since he became a Bengal. Right now, he's giving up some explosive plays here and there. He's still probably maybe coming back from that Achilles injury that he suffered on Halloween last year. And maybe he's still trying to return himself back to form. That was always a big question for me with him when we got him back on the team coming from that injury. Is he going to be able to operate the same? We know we like the potential that DJ Turner and even DJ Ivy have at the cornerback's position, but we don't know if it's going to surface itself this season. I haven't seen DJ Turner make big plays yet so far. We like his speed. We think he can be special when he finally figures it out, but it hasn't happened yet. Dax Hill is the one that is showing some impressive stuff to me because that was also the biggest thing that Bengals fans have paid attention to because how was the safety room going to handle the departure of Jesse Bates and Von Bell, as we already know? Well, we have believed automatically that Dax Hill was going to pan himself out because he's playing in a role to where he can sort of be the overseer. And he's kind of worked out. He also got an interception, albeit it was probably because of an arm punt by Ryan Tannehill, but he got a pick. And
Yeah.
I do like him being that Swiss Army knife, being like that chess piece all over the field. He's knifing in the backfield, getting tackles for loss. Hell, on Monday night, as you mentioned, he got a vicious sack on Matt Stafford to the where like he came
Man,
out like he just got
you
shot
got
out
that
of a
right.
cannon for a sack. That was my favorite sack of the entire game. I still
Oh yeah.
like what I'm seeing from the defensive line, even though it's probably frustrating. But I think that the defense has also been put in some really bad spots because this offense is just not
Yes.
doing them no kind of favors.
Yep.
However, I will also say this as the reason why I'm kind of putting it more towards them losing a bit of their mental edge a bit. They missed a ton of tackles this past Sunday.
Yeah.
Like they missed way too many tackles. Logan Wilson, more specifically, had a tackle for a loss right there, and he read a perfect play where Ryan Tannehill looked down the field and dumped it off to, I think it was Tajay Spears.
I believe
I can't
so.
remember who it was. I think it was probably Tajay Spears. I'll double check myself on that. And then Logan Wilson had him right there. He read the play perfectly and then should have had him for a tackle for a loss or even for a no gain. He
Yep.
broke out of it, ended up getting the first down, or short, maybe short of the first down, but he got yards out of it. And
Yep.
it was positive yardage. And Logan Wilson was just disgusted in himself. So it's stuff like that that just you can't allow that to happen. And the reason why I say the mental age is the even bigger thing because let's take a look at that team out in Western Pennsylvania that's also going through rebuild and changing themselves too. That same Browns team that we also only mustered up 3 points against beat them on their home turf without even having a great offense either. Everybody likes to say TJ Watt gets in Joe Burrow's head and all this and that. Well, Pittsburgh's side of the ball, actually on Pittsburgh and how their team, how they build, they don't care about Myles Garrett. They got TJ Watt. TJ Watt is the great neutralizer for Myles Garrett. It seems to me that every time that those two teams play each other and those two players play on the same field, Watt is always having a better game than Garrett 100% of the time, it feels like. And they ended up winning that game basically because of their defense. But we also know in this day and age, as this offensive is such an offensive driven schematic league these days, it's really hard to win consistently on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis by virtue of just playing great defense. It's almost damn near impossible, it feels like.
Yeah.
But when your defense shows up, they can have great games. We can also point to the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys just got pretty much just stonewalled by the Cardinals the week prior. And now this past Sunday, they had another one of their better defensive performances of the year after shutting out the Giants week 1. So it is a lot of Jekyll and Hyde on the defensive side of the ball across the league in general. So that's why another reason why I don't give them too much of the blame. But I need to see this defense capture that edge again. And I think that they have the tools on that side of the ball to do it. Trey Henderson is still a dog at the pass rusher position.
Yes.
He's still one of my favorite players in the league to watch. Sam Hubbard, I love him as a run stuffer, also a pseudo pass rusher himself too. You gotta find a way to involve Joseph Osai in there. Again, I get it, man. We're so in our fields in this psyche of we don't want our players to get hurt. Man, injuries is going to happen. Get his ass on the field, man. I also love that Miles Murphy got himself a first sack of the year because there were fans clobbering from I think we might have drafted a buzz. Bro, you got to let some of these players develop. And we knew that this was somewhat of a developmental type of year for the defense. Kind of like the Chiefs were last year. That's exactly what this defense is this season. I think they'll be fine, but they got to find a way to capture that fire back because, and again, to no fault of their own, Dolphins ain't doing them no favors. But, it's not a one offensive showing kind of a league, man. You got two sides of the ball here, and you got to take care of your own stuff too, man. No excuses.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more with what you just said there. It's just the fact of, I agree. The pass rush has been pretty good this year. I don't think it's been bad at all. Guys are getting after the quarterback. I believe we had like 3 or 4 sacks.
I think we had like 4 sacks. A couple of them got nullified by injury. We would have had like 6 or something like that. And it's another thing too. See, this is another reason why I'm not super impressed with what the Titans did to us this past Sunday. Let that be the Buffalo Bills that they were up 24-3 on. They would have lost that game. Let that be the Kansas City Chiefs, who don't really have that great of weapons at the receiver position right now. They would have also lost that game. The Tennessee Titans I'm talking about. The Miami Dolphins, if they were down 24-3 against that same Titans team, the Titans looking like that, they would have probably lost that game because those teams know how to corral their offensive weaponry to be explosive at any given moment so far. They're showing that this year. The Bengals haven't found that. They haven't found that elixir this year. They think that they're finding it and they think that is there, but it's just not.
I agree. And we're going to go to a break real quick, and we will back some numbers up on, why the Bengals offense is not that explosive. We'll be right back in just a moment. All right, and we are back. Talk about some numbers that, honestly, when I saw these numbers, it honestly made my eyeballs bleed quite a bit. So big plays through week 4, 2023 season. If you had to take a guess, Justin, who the team that leads in big plays is, who would you say?
I'm going to take a wild guess and say Tanner Hudson.
Well, I was going to say, my fault. I'm saying for like teams in National Football League. My fault.
Oh.
Well, Tanner Hudson, I'm not going to lie, he's tied. Nah, man. But which team do you think has the most explosive plays or big plays throughout this season in the National Football League? Any team off the top of your head?
Okay. It's easy to point at the Miami Dolphins right now because of Mike McDaniels, and Tua is looking like he's having a stellar season so far, albeit they did just get their ass beat by the Bills. But I'm not going to go to it. I'm actually going to go with the Bills. I think that they lead the league in big plays. That's a guess, but that's the feeling I'm getting.
Well, Miami does lead the league in big plays. Obviously, the Denver game, the Denver game obviously helps that. They have 38 big plays this year, 38 in 4 games. That is 9.5. Obviously round up to 10 big plays a game. Big plays meaning that 10 plus yard rushes and 20 plus yard receptions. The Dolphins have 20 10 plus yard rushes, and they have 18 20 plus yard catches this season. The Bills are in the top 10. They have 26 big plays through week 4. The Cincinnati Bengals are tied with the Las Vegas Raiders in the cellar of the National Football League with 11. The Bengals have had 7 runs of 10 plus yards and 4 catches of 20 plus yards. You're telling me that you have... Yeah, they all. Yeah. You're telling me that you got, obviously an injured Joe Burrow, but who cares? It's Joe Burrow. Like you think, like don't get me wrong, the calf injury. I've never had a calf injury before. It's if Joe Burrow is going through it right now, it's probably hurts pretty bad. But he's a warrior for playing through it and all that stuff. But if you go and play through it, man, you gotta be able to try to make some throws and try to do some stuff as well. But that also comes with the coaching staff. We talked about that before. I don't want to keep recycling information. 7 rushes of 10 plus yards or more, 4 receptions of 20 plus yards or more. You got Joe Burrow, you got Joe Mixon, you got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Tanner Hudson, who is actually responsible for one of those big plays. It is. It's utterly ridiculous how that's the case. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If you scheme some of the things up, maybe you'd have some more explosive plays, but that's for another discussion. And also, before we get into this Bengals Cardinals game, updated rankings for the Bengals on offense and defense. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of great running backs who wore these numbers. That's the rankings that we have. Jim Brown, number 32.
Before you give those rankings, I just want to let the viewers know and the listeners know, I personally have not seen these rankings. I refuse to. So when Chase gets ready to unleash these rankings to where we are right now, this is going to be for the first time I'm hearing it. And I'm pretty much assuming that it's going to make my ears bleed. So go ahead. I just wanted to give that disclaimer.
All right. In the addition that Justin has towels to help out his ears, total offense is ranked Jim Brown 32nd in the league. Rush offense is Priest Holmes, number 31 in the league. In rush offense. Pass offense is rated number 29, Eric Dickerson in the league.
Yeah.
Scoring offense is rated. Who's another good 31 in the National Football League? Actually, we'll go former Bengal, Jeremy Johnson, 31st. Oh, jeez. Jeremy Johnson. Yep, 31. You have your four offensive categories. Your highest category is pass offense, and that's 29th in the National Football League. Everything else is 31st or 32nd, believe it or not.
That's
Total
disgusting.
defense. Total defense. Delta O'Neal, number 24 in total defense. Rush defense, there's a lot of 31s. Let's go with a former Bengal for like a year or two, Roy Williams, safety, number 31. Pass defense, you got the Red Rifle, number 14th pass defense. Isn't that nice?
How.
I have no idea.
No, actually, Dex Hill gives me I can see that. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's true. And then scoring defense, you're number 18, AJ Green. You're the 18th in the league at scoring defense, which, and then turnover. Yeah, turnover plus minus. You're tied 12th. You're in the upper half of the league. That's actually one of two categories that you're in the upper half of the league of. In that, really rough numbers. You add those numbers up, it's a 3-digit number. It's not great. It really isn't. Wow.
Okay, we got to start with this offense. So the passing offense that you mentioned is ranked number 29. I'm actually surprised by that 29.
I am too.
I thought we were going to be dead last, but then I had to think Pittsburgh's probably the team that's dead last on passing offense.
I have no idea, but he probably.
I thought you had that.
I just read the numbers. It was off of Jay Morrison's Twitter. They're off Jay Morrison's Twitter. Yep.
All right. Yeah. Shout out to Jay Morrison. I know you doing a Pro Football Network. You doing your thing over there. Shout out to you doing great work over there. But 29th in passing offense, I'm really surprised at that because out of the 4 games, here's some more stats. 3 of those games, Joe Burrow threw for under 200 yards passing, well below 200 yard passing. And in week 1, he threw for under 100 yards passing with 82 yards against Cleveland. So that is really shocking to me. And he only threw 2 touchdowns on the year so far, both of them in the same game against the Ravens. And I mean, I'm not going to call it garbage time because we still had a chance to win. And then you threw 2 interceptions, again, one in the Ravens in the game, and then another one against
the Rams.
The Rams.
Yep.
Was it the Rams?
Yeah, it was the Rams. It was Tyler Boyd ran something.
Kilo Witherspoon, that pick, that crazy interception that he threw.
I'll tell you, that was a good interception. I'll give him credit.
That was and I don't put that on Joe because that was one hell of a defensive play.
It was.
And then he has a sack fumble loss I think in a couple of games. It just that's why that 29th ranking just really surprised me. I thought it was going to be dead last because it feels like it's dead last. Who's worse? That's what I want to know now. It's like who's worse than us?
I don't even know for real. Like I know the Cardinals are ahead of us when you're looking at the past numbers. They're ahead of us. So it's a damn shame, and it's a damn shame because we got to talk about these Cardinals who on paper look better than us. So Josh Dobbs, man, 70% completion percentage this year. 70 from him. 814 yards. I believe touchdowns, interceptions. I think he's 4. He has not thrown a pick yet. 4 touchdowns and no interceptions this season. So, he's been playing pretty clean football overall. James Conner, 318 yards rushing, averaging 5.1 yards a carry. He's having a really good year. And right behind him, Josh Dobbs, averaging 5.9 yards a carry. The goal for the Cardinals is to run the football, to set up the pass. And how many teams have we played this year that are going to do that? Every single one of them, basically, except for the Rams who we beat. Tough. This is tough. You got Hollywood Brown, 239 yards receiving on 21 catches, 2 touchdowns. They had a really good rookie receiver, Michael Wilson from Stanford. 237 yards on 14 catches and 2 touchdowns. This Cardinals team, also Zach Ertz, this plays for them as well, 20 receptions. This Cardinals team, like we talked about before, they, thought we were going to be tanking all this stuff. Maybe they still might end up doing that, but they ain't going to try to tank this Sunday. They see an opportunity. Against us. It's just, if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, it's like, and you see the Cardinals who are like, oh man, we got an opportunity against them. We play the same exact way like the Titans and the Browns and the Ravens do and stuff like that. You would think in Cincinnati that would piss the Bengals off and be like, hell nah, we stopping the run. We finna block y'all up. But We don't know. This game has me worried. This game has me very worried from the games that I've seen in the past, because guess what? We have not scored a touchdown on the road this season. The team that we can walk in your trap and take over your trap, we walking in your trap and we trapped on offense. We are trapped. We up in a damn cage, man. It's, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Why does the cage bird sing? We don't even sing, man. We just in the cage. We just in the cage on offense. They put clamps on us. Like, damn. Like, it is frustrating. Frustrating as heck. But Justin, take the floor before I go on ahead and lose just breath out of my take it.
Oh man. That phrase, we are the team that tends to walk in your trap and take over your trap. Now we're the team that walk in your trap and we trapped. That's exactly the perfect explanation to where the Bengals are right now when it comes to their road warrior life mentality. Dude, it started the Titans game. We should never have been trapped in that game, bro.
No.
But going to this Cardinals team, yeah, this is the ultimate trap game right here. If you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan, and it does have me worried too. This Arizona Cardinals team, they give me shades of the 2019 Miami Dolphins. In the 2019 Miami Dolphins, the whole tank for Tua was a thing. They ended up still getting to it. That's funny. But
yeah.
But Brian Flores, and there's a lot of stories that came about it later on down the road from Brian Flores' point of view, that they basically wanted him to tank, sell off all these parts and stuff, and to essentially lose games on purpose so that way he can tank for the number one pick. Mm-hmm. And he came out and said that I'm not trying to do all of that. And their head coach, John Gannon, is sort of adopted that Brian Flores-like mentality. And he's like, nah, man, look, I get it, man. We still got to evaluate our plethora of roster of guys that we don't know what to make of with this team. But I'm still going to empower my guys to go out there and fight and give it their all. I had the 49ers defense starting in my fantasy lineup this past Sunday. And there was a surefire win for the Niners, and showing that on the scoreboard. But you know how many points that the 49ers yielded me? 2 points in fantasy. 2. Even through my face, I'm so frustrated in that too. If anybody watching on YouTube,
ain't no way. That's awesome.
That was a complete awesome. Accident. It was a complete accident. I did not mean to get my finger caught between my legs. But
you tell them.
And I looked at the score and I thought to myself, in the world, when the 49ers won this game by a long shot, 35-16, did they only yield 2 fantasy points? And then I just went on ahead and just dove deep into the touchdown drives and the scoring drives and all the plays. And then I kind of saw it, okay, this actually makes sense. The Cardinals actually played control the clock better than the 49ers did. Although the 49ers, when they got their hands on the rock, they scored. But I see a 16-play drive here for the Cardinals, ended in a field goal. A 15-play drive, went over 92 yards, I see, ended in a touchdown. And then the Cardinals, they had another 13-play drive for 94 yards and a touchdown. And I'm thinking, and this has got me thinking, they've pretty much controlled the clock from start to finish from this game against the 49ers. And they also been able to get chunk yards against the team that they knew that they were overmatched by, but they still was able to play control-free football, no mistakes, no picks I don't see here under all of these drives. And I see a turnover on downs drive, but that's because the game is over. It was off of a 12-play drive. This is just the last gasp they possibly can, and it just didn't happen. So, and then the game before that, I mentioned earlier in the show, they ended up pulling off a stunning upset of the Cowboys. Josh Dobbs pulled off a stunning upset of the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. That same Dallas team that has a great defense that threw 40 points on the Giants week 1 and then 38 points on the Patriots. The same Cardinals team that they just show a lot of feistiness. And it just reminds me of what I saw from those Brian Flores-led Dolphins team, that who cares what the organization is trying to do tanking-wise? I bet that the Cardinals are telling themselves, dude, regardless of this tanking situation or not, it's not going to bode well for us regardless, because we're still not going to know what to do with Kyler Murray. The way how his attitude is during the offseason and how he's apparently not coming off the PUP list once he even does get cleared. We don't know how to make of that situation, coupled with the fact that while Caleb Williams is the star-studded guy that everybody is pegging as the number 1 overall pick coming out of USC, and right now I'll give him that. He's playing like it for sure.
Yeah.
The Cardinals looking like, man, at this point, this is probably not the year you even want the number 1 pick because you're not a fancy enough destination, even as a terrible team, for a number 1 pick to come in and try to change the culture of that franchise. And on top of that, I don't even think if I'm the Cardinals organization that I'm really going to be turned on by the likes of Caleb Williams based off of the comments that I've been hearing regarding that. I want to pick and choose my destination or stay at USC. If you're the Cardinals, you're like, man, hell with all this. I just want to go out there and win football games. And they're actually playing like it. They might not show up. It might not show up like that on the win column just as yet, but their stats are actually showing it. You just mentioned James Conner and his rushing yardage total throughout the season. I'm impressed. I've always been impressed with James Conner. I felt like that he didn't get a fair shakedown in Pittsburgh. Hollywood Brown got disrespected out of Baltimore to the point where Ravens fans were clobbering for him to be traded because they just felt like that Lamar needed better receivers. I always thought the world of Hollywood Brown personally. Did I think that he was a true number 1? Maybe not, but he's a guy that can make big plays when you need him to. And again, hey, he has 2 touchdowns. That's more than Jamar Chase has on the season, who has 0 for now. That is eye-opening in and of it itself. And they're not playing scrub opponents. They're also playing big-time opponents. Again, they played the Cowboys, who have a ferocious defense in the pass rush, and they beat them. They played the 49ers, even though the score doesn't indicate it and it can seem misleading. They played the 49ers really tough. And they have been doing that this whole entire season. Week 1, they gave who they played, the Commanders, if I'm not mistaken.
Commanders, yeah.
I thought they won that game, if I'm not mistaken. So too.
Well, they
were winning that game. I think the Commanders came back and ended up winning, coming back and winning. Which Commanders are a nice, feisty little team too, just to show out there. But if you're the Bengals, you got to figure out a way to kind of just get your fire and your mojo back and not trying to think like, oh, there's just the Cardinals. This is a get-right game. No, this Cardinals team, I guarantee it right now, John Gannon got these boys smelling blood in the water here in Cincinnati, and he knows that this team does not have a mobile enough quarterback and doesn't show that they even have the clue to figure out how to unlock the talent on this offense. And this offense is really talented. You couple that with the fact that we got T. Higgins going to probably play with a broken rib or something. I'm hoping that, he does get better and whatnot. Tyler Boyd has not necessarily found any mojo in this offense either. Joe Mixon is the main thing that we've been always clamoring as Bengal fans, like, you got to get him the rock and let him keep going. But at the end of the day, they already know that this Bengals team is going to be impatient. They may run the ball pretty well to start the game, but they know they're going to want to pass and be their normal selves again. And that's going to be our downfall because we haven't figured out a way to get out of our own way when it comes to the play calling and being creative. And that is the complete recipe of an upset on the road against the Cardinals. I'll tell you right now, I'm not really a big-time bettor right now. And if you are a big bettor, I think you should give the show Pay Dirt with B Dirt, Brandon Harriet, and his boy a listen, because we do Pay Dirt episodes here on the Run Through the Jungle Network.
Good plug.
I'm not really a betting man, but I think the Bengals have opened the line at 4.5-point favorites. I'm not looking to bet the Bengals to win this game. Maybe I'll bet the money line personally, but if anything, I will probably bet the Arizona Cardinals to cover. But again, don't take my advice because I'm not good at it. Bengals already lost me money twice, so I'm done.
Man, I mean, yeah, that it's crazy when you think about it. With Jonathan Gannon. Remember, I mean, he was the Eagles defensive coordinator with the team that had 70 sacks last season. They had 70 sacks. Obviously, you don't have as much talent on that defense as the Eagles did last year. But you got to be a damn fool to think that he ain't gonna try to scheme something up for Joe Burrow. You feel me?
True.
Yeah. And the thing is, man, like, do you remember when we played the Raiders week 11 of 2021? Remember that we played out in Vegas? Mm-hmm. That game was a Joe Mixon game. That was not the last time we saw a true Joe Mixon game, but it was a Joe Mixon game when we absolutely needed a Joe Mixon game. Joe Mixon had 5 touchdowns against the Panthers last year. And I wouldn't say we needed it. It was great that he did it. Obviously Burrow could have, won the, throwing the ball, could have won the game, but stuff like that. But What did the Bengals do last year? They adjusted. They gotta adjust now. They have to adjust. But what I'm talking about with this Raiders Week 11 game from back then was, I believe Joe Mixon ran the ball around 32 times that game. He had over 130 yards rushing, and he had 2 touchdown runs.
Yeah, I remember the touchdown that sealed the deal that won the game. But I absolutely remember that game like it was yesterday. Well, because it literally felt like yesterday with it being 2 years ago, being a part of that magical run to the Super Bowl. It certainly did. Joe Burrow didn't even have 200 yards passing that day. But we are a firm belief that if it needed to come down to Joe Burrow passing the ball 100 times, he would have. But because that game specifically was more designed to just let Joe Mixon just kill it the rest of the way. And Joe Burrow is here for as an insurance, because I think that he threw a touchdown pass to Jamar Chase in that game as well, too, in the back left corner of the end zone, which I thought was pretty sweet. So
it was.
That game, that game should ideally be the focal point if you're the Bengals going into this desert road map again in Arizona. I would use that exact same gameplay. And to be perfectly honest, those West Coast teams like the Raiders, the Cardinals, they share the same ugly looking field with grass flying up everywhere. So it makes perfect sense to go that route, honestly.
I'm telling you, man, it's like the game plan, what they were, talking about, you could literally see it in that day. It was like, we are going to run the ball until the dam breaks. And the dam broke later in the game. And what did the defense do? The defense balled out. They kept it close. I remember a certain part in that game when I think it was 16-6, and the Raiders scored a touchdown. It was 16-13. And what did we need that next drive? We needed a nice drive from Joe Burrow in the offense, and we got down the field, and Joe Burrow made a play when he needed to make a play and threw that touchdown to Jamar Chase, and the defense got a pick. We ran a touchdown. Joe Mixon sealed the game. Trey Hendrickson got a strip sack. Sam Hubbard recovered.
Eli Apple got a pick in that game too.
He got the pick. Yes, Eli Apple had that pick that set up the Joe Mixon touchdown, and that basically sealed the game. The big thing with this is like, again, you're in the West Coast. You're playing, a team that's going to run the football to set up the pass. I mean, why can't y'all do the same thing? You know what I'm saying? But why not do the same thing, but just do it better? You feel me? Like, in the offensive line, you talk about Orlando Brown. Orlando Brown has played pretty well for the first 4 games. I got to give him credit for him. He's played pretty well for the most part. You got him there. You paid him all that money. Man, run that ball to his side and let him lead block. Let Kappa, let these glass eaters that you have in there be glass eaters in the run game, and take no prisoners, but take some souls and put them into the ground, and let Joe Mixon run that damn ball. You feel me? Like the thing is, like, if the method is we got to get him going and we got to get him 25 to 30 runs and just break that dam. And Joe Mixon would have, if we run him that many times, he will eventually break off 1 or 2 big ones. You feel me? He'll break off 1 or 2 big ones. The way he's been running, he's going to break off 1 or 2 big ones if they do that method. Obviously we're not we're not coaching stuff like that, but we even see it, man. We even see it. That's the thing. And not to mention the next week against the Steelers, it was a Joe Mixon game as well, and he had like 160 yards, and we kicked their ass.
That was my favorite game of that year.
That was favorite game of the year. Favorite game of the year for sure. And but the thing is, like, when in doubt, ride Joe Mixon, man. Like, ride Joe Mixon, play great defense, Burrow's the insurance policy, and when we call for that insurance, Burrow, you better answer. Is all I gotta say. That's the big thing. And obviously be like, okay, play great defense, blah blah blah. The Cardinals' lowest rushing numbers game, the lowest amount of yards they had in the game rushing this year was 96 yards. They're gonna run the football well. They are. But man, like, I'm telling you, that defensive line, they got to come out with fire. The linebackers got to be on their A game. And Mike Hilton, man. Mike Hilton, I'll tell you this. Like, I'm not going to say Mike Hilton's been terrible this year. The first 2 games, it wasn't great. I'm not going to say he's been terrible, but he is not making plays that he would normally make, and he is just, like, that close to making those plays. But he's just it's the difference of a 4-yard loss and a 6-yard gain. But it's just like, man, like, if you got to play old school smash mouth football to win this game out in the desert and get the 2 and 3 and have some hope and pride, then you got to do it, man. You have to do it. And I had one more thing. Um, I actually I won't add one more thing, but I kind of forgot because there's a lot of good talking points that we've gone throughout this show. I the bottom line is this, man. Just find a way to win. Just find a way to win Cincinnati. That's all we asking for, man. You win this game, we're like, all right, keep going. This is the only game that matters. This is the only game that matters right now. Is the one coming
Right.
up at 4:05 on Fox. That's the only game that matters at this point right now. I'm not worried about the Steelers and the Ravens this week. I'm not worried that the Browns have a bye week. I'm not worried about that if we lose this game, we probably going to get flexed out of Sunday Night Football, and that's not even the least of my concern. You win this game, man, you could have some momentum. That's what you're talking about the Rams game. But, come on, you got to get this dub this Sunday. And it's just it is frustrating as fans to just watch a team. We also mentioned this, on the Roaring Reactions, watching a team have this high of expectations and fall this short this early into the season. And, that's why it's been such a big disappointment, man. But you write your own story. The Bengals write their own story. And if you're going to keep writing this story, it is going up in the garbage. If you're going to, flip the script and get that that feathery pen out and just dip some little ink in it and then start writing in that, real nice font, maybe you can turn this thing around. But, it's got to start with the coach. And then it's got to trickle down to the quarterback, and it's got to trickle down to everybody on that roster, and everybody's got to play on fire like they're going to be playing in the desert on Sunday.
Definitely. I hope I'm definitely wrong about my feelings regarding this team and feeling like that this season feels like it's over at 1-3. I really do hope that I'm wrong. I am going to still be rooting for this team no matter what, obviously, because I'm a diehard Bengals fan. But you're absolutely right. At the end of the day, for me, the star players got to find a way to show up and show out, and then just help this team get them out of this lull. I'm going to actually, listeners, if you've been listening to the show, and we really appreciate you for listening. You
Yes.
have been hearing both myself and Chase kind of invoke our deep catalog of memory banks that we have for the game of football. We're referencing games from 2 years ago. It can be games for 10 years ago.
Deep bag.
For me, I'm actually going to go back even further and go back to the 1995 Dallas Cowboys to bring up this reference. That 95 Cowboys team won the Super Bowl. That was not really that great of a Cowboys team that ended up winning the Super Bowl, but they won that Super Bowl because of one major thing. They had a lot of chaos dysfunction. And, well, they're the Cowboys. They always have a lot of chaos dysfunction in the media. They're always a media circus. But that season more in particular, it could be easily distractible, and they could have had a losing record. And the one player that got them out of their lull when they were going through the December from hell was Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin had over 1,600 yards. He was the heartbeat and soul. They still had Emmitt Smith. They still had Troy Aikman. They also had prime time. He made the in addition season trade from the 49ers, locked in a contract battle there, and then ended up going from San Fran to Dallas. But Michael Irvin was the heart and soul of that 95 Cowboys team. And then they rode that momentum into the playoffs and eventually into the Super Bowl. And I'm not saying the Bengals season is going to end the exact same storyline of, they're going to ride that momentum of whatever spark comes about it and into the Super Bowl. But what I'm wrong about is that I do hope they do turn this thing around, because I do want to see a championship trophy here in Cincy. We tired of talking about not having trophies. We're tired of the zero rings jokes on Twitter and social media. We hear it all. We see it all. But like you just said, Chase, I'm not paying attention to none of that stuff regarding other teams and what they're doing and what they're not doing, just to try to see if we can keep up the pace. If we just get no, man, this is just about us. Right now, we're 1-3. The season looks like it's not promising, and it's going in the toilet fast. And it feels like that in any inevitable moment, Joe Burrow can be hampered with an injury that can just shelve him for the rest of the season. And I don't want that. I don't like that feeling. Something got to give. And just like the 95 Cowboys and Michael Irvin being that spark to get them out of those lulls that they had that year, I'm kind of staring at actually Jamar Chase as that central force to get us out of this lull, along with others, since he's not the only person. But I just feel like that his personality, his drive, the force that he is to reckon with on the field can really do it. I don't think it's T. Higgins. No offense to T. Higgins. I love him. He knows. I mean, I don't think he knows that personally, but I love T. Higgins. I love Tyler Boyd, and I love our guys that we have offensively. But right now, I just think that Jamar Chase is the it person to help get us out of this law. Joe Mixon is the guy that is rushing with passion. But I also feel like that they're just not trusting him enough to carry it because they still believe that their best ways to win is Joe Burrow, even when he's at 60%. And right now, that's just not the case. They just have to just make that mental adjustment for the time being just to get us through this. And I think when they come out of it, they will be fine. So as critical as I was of this team to begin this episode, I am trying to do a big time flip and a switch to kind of talk positively and end us on a positive note because we still know this team is talented. When they put it all together, they're the best. They're one of the best teams in the league, and they're one of the top 3 teams in the AFC alone. So they just got to put it all together. I do not think that this team is in the same well bucket as the Arizona Cardinals, no matter how feisty this Cardinals team is playing. When this Bengals team is on fire, as you mentioned also earlier in the show, they are so hard to stop. But they have to show that they cannot be stopped in their mind up here. So this Sunday, you go to Arizona, do what you can to just pull out a win, make it convincing if you can. But if you end up coming back home in a loss, you got to just start evaluating your next wave of options. I don't know what to go from here, but all expectations are all off the table as far as Super Bowl playoffs and all that stuff, number 1 seed. That's all gone for me. I'm just here to watch this team. I want them to function and function well. And if they can't do that, then, we'll still be here. We'll still be here trying to talk positive.
We will.
But we're going to be real about them.
Yeah, you got that right. But I tell you, man, it's just, like it says in the title of the show, it's do or die the rest of the 2023 season. And the big thing about that is you go out there to Arizona and you get yourself a win, you could be feeling real nice about where to go from here. And the thing is, Jamar Chase, I agree with you, being that focal point. Joe Mixon's got to get us through this, but you just hope that the other side, being Burrow gets healthy, or the fact that we start winning football games starting this Sunday, you hope that other side is right there around the corner and you just weather that storm. It's like you just driving through you're driving through a storm trying to get back home, and it's like, man, we almost there. We can't stop on the side of the road. We can't get struck by lightning. We gotta just weather the storm, run the football, play great defense, get win, get to the bye, and then hopefully by the time obviously I don't want to keep speaking too far in advance, but by the time you get to that point where you've weathered the storm and you've got back home figuratively, the games are all here. The great ones come out at night. So you got to go on ahead and just, weather the storm. And then once you get through it, it's go time. It's go time now. It's go time now. Yeah. It's go time now. Right. Like we can't sit back and take no breaks. We got to weather this damn storm. And then once the storm is over, it's time to ball. It's time to really unleash this shit. So there's no wait. There's no waiting. There's no waiting right now. Yeah. We have to get it done right now. Have to. But yeah, man, fun show. Like I said, that's Justin Lacey over there. Any parting shots before we get on out of here, Justin?
I'm just very happy to be on this show again with you, Chase. We put our chef's hats on and we cook together. So, and we're going to keep doing a little bit more of that down the road. So I'm always happy to be, I'm very happy that you had me on today, man. Like we listened through this whole thing. We got to be able to find some sort of entertainment. And I'm hoping that Chase and I have been able to bring that for you, for all the listeners out there. We absolutely appreciate you.
Most definitely. We appreciate the listeners. Justin, I appreciate you. Like you said, we blitzing through this whole thing. The Bengals got to figure out how to stop the blitz, and maybe we'll win a game on Sunday. Like I said, that's Justin Lacey over there. I'm Chase Johnson. We'll see you guys next time.